It's April 2024 and I am taking part in a challenge to do 30 different portraits in 30 days. It is the 23rd, so I only have 7 days to go and I'm struggling. So I thought I'd show where I'm up to in the hope that it will shame me into doing the final week. The challenge is with an online portrait school called Sktchy. Each day an artist demonstrates a portrait from a photo, and it's up to you whether you copy their style, their technique, or whether you do your own thing. And for the first time I am tutoring on this challenge, and this was my lesson, which was all about doing a tinted background on a pen and wash portrait and seeing what a difference your choice of background makes. Day 2 was with a great artist called Charlotte Hamilton, and this was all about patterns in the backgrounds of portraits. So I decided that I wouldn't just be a tutor, I'd actually do the challenge myself. I have got the advantage in that I've already done 5 of the days because I've done five of the lessons, but I'm still finding it really hard. What I've tried to do on the days that aren't my lessons is really practice my freehand sketching and just seeing if I can copy their style to learn new techniques. Some days, frankly, I haven't had time because painting like someone else is so much harder than painting like yourself. So day 3, Drayton Duro was the teacher, and he uses really intense saturated colours, which I just didn't even bother to try to achieve. Day 4 is an artist called Kyle Legaspi, who is from the Philippines, and it was all about this incredibly dark shadow. I thought this poor girl looked like she'd had her eye gouged out in a horrible accident, but there you go. Day 5, I haven't written the artist. Gosh, that's rude of me, can't remember. And it was about a monochrome, so I had great fun using some lovely sort of Japanese watercolours I hadn't touched before. Day 6 is Lorraine Simmons, who's a Canadian artist who chose an incredibly sad photo as her muse. I couldn't really face painting this, so I did it the quickest way possible and I didn't copy her technique. 7 was one of my lessons, and it was all about getting the face to emerge from the chaos of watercolour, which I thought was really easy, but totally freaked some people out. Day 8 was with Charlotte Hamilton, and it was about painting a portrait with no pencil underdrawing and actually doing it upside down, because painting or drawing upside down forces your brain to actually see what's in front of you, not what you think's in front of you. And frankly, I was really chuffed. So I painted this, I know it's only a monochrome, but I painted this without any pencil underdrawing, and I painted upside down, and when I turned it the right way up, I didn't think that was bad. I've painted a lot worse, as you will soon see. Day 9, back to Drayton, not one of my best days. I really liked her hair. I was pleased with how that turned out, but there's definitely something rather wrong around the face. Oh, and that eye. And anyway, que sera, sera. When you're doing one of these challenges, it's not actually about doing the best portrait ever. I think it's about learning and the discipline of doing it every day. So some people have been really beating themselves up. Do you know what? No, I've done it. Some are good, some aren't. I don't care. This was another of Lorraine's super sad faces. And again, I was playing catch up at this point. I didn't time to try and copy her techniques, so I did a really quick pen and wash. And I have to say, I was quite pleased with the likeness I achieved. Day 11 was back to Kyle. I was starting to try some new paints out. I'd been sent some paints from Paul Rubens. And also, and I don't know if it'll pick up, can you see there's glitter in this paper? They sent me a pack of glitter watercolour paper, and I was like, what on earth am I going to do with that? And I thought, oh, well, I'll use it for this because it's A4 and it'll fit in my book. Again, I quite enjoyed that one, and it was all about having some hard edges, so hard edges in the face and then soft edges in the bits that weren't so important. This was with Anna from Brazil. Yeah, I thought this was a really interesting model. The biggest question I have is, how on earth do you stick pearls to your eyelid, and why? Wouldn't they be really, really uncomfortable? Amazing, but how do you get them off afterwards? So using these really fiery colours to try and create that portrait and capture that light. Day 13 was back to me. So my lesson this day was a monochrome, but using a stencil to cope with this incredible pattern. Look at this guy, he's got a patterned leopard skin pattern top against a leopard skin patterned wall hanging, and we use stencils both in the normal way but actually for lifting out the background as well. So that was my lesson. This was a failure day. If you look at this picture on its own, you might think, well, that was a harsh portrait, or it's okay, or whatever. If you look at what she should look like, I didn't achieve that at all. And I know what I've done wrong. I mean, that forehead is way too small. Eyes haven't got the right size. It just went wrong. It didn't work. But I still posted it online because I'd promised that I'd post the good and the bad, and you can't just suddenly break that promise. And I could have done it again, but do you know what? I didn't. 15 was with Dryton, and I was really chuffed with this. So Dryton paints in, I say, really rich, saturated colours, and I have never been able to achieve them. And I was using this set from Paul Rubens, and I actually got somewhere close to getting the saturation and the richness that I wanted, while still keeping it pretty loose. And I was really chuffed with how this turned out. So well done, Dryton. Good teaching. Back to Kyle, who does love this palette of, well, we've got yellows, yellow ochres, burnt siennas, going through mineral violet and some lovely blues, and she tends to use this palette an awful lot. So that was good fun. Day 17, I really disliked this muse. I mean, not her personally, but it just did nothing for me. And again, I was short of time. So I just thought, how can I do this as quickly as possible? And I did a pen and wash portrait, and I put all these little marks are actually pastel pencil, and I wanted to put really hard, scratchy marks to try and capture that scream that she's doing. Say, not one of my best, certainly not one of my favourite. Back with Lorraine, it was all about the monochrome again. Really quite a difficult muse because you can't see what's going on and you desperately want to know what's going on. So I was quite pleased with how that turned out in the end. Now, this was one of my lessons. And just to prove, what goes into doing these things. So I'd picked her as a muse. I just loved that really direct stare and her wonderful sort of jumper. And I tried to paint her in pure watercolour. I did it a couple of times, but I had to get the lesson to be less than an hour long, or 1 hour. Maybe I could just go a few minutes over an hour. That was the challenge, and I had to record it so it could be broadcast. No way could I do that. So again, I went to line and wash because I find that a really quick way of working. Day 20 with Charlotte was this amazing picture. So this woman is standing by a wire fence and has got these shadows all over her face. And it was actually a lot of fun to paint. So there you go, all those shadows. Did a bit differently from Charlotte. I just wanted to play and try, and I actually rather enjoyed that. It was interesting because day 21 was all about shadows. If you look at this girl as well, the shadows on her face. And I found it infinitely easier to paint this woman than I did to paint this girl. And I think it's interesting when a face is very smooth and young and pretty, it's actually far harder to paint than if it has more character, and wrinkles and glasses give a lot more sort of stuff to hold your painting together, stuff to hang things on. So I actually found her really, really hard. I love this day 22 with Kyle. I just liked his cheeky look. I didn't use her sort of techniques particularly. Mine's a lot looser. She paints with a size 1 brush. I hardly think I even own a size 1 brush. How he turned out. And then this is again with Anna. Now I have to say I feel that this girl that I've painted is probably her younger sister. I know that I just haven't got some of the proportions right, but as a painting, if you couldn't see her, I think it's quite a nice painting. And I really had a lot of fun with her hair, which is just amazing. Quite like these marks around here. And yeah, thoroughly enjoyed that. Mine was a far looser interpretation because I'm really stuck for time. That's as far as I've got. I'm on day 23. I have 7 to go. So if you want to see the rest of them, do look on social media, or I'll do another quick flick through when I get to day 30. But the end is in sight.